Welcome to Creating a BOPPS Lesson Plan for Introductory Instructional Skills. My name is Tereigh Ewert-Bauer, and I am one of the instructors for the course. This is your first lesson before we've even met, but it will prepare you for our first class so that we can get into some more interactive activities rather than just lecturing on our first meeting. First, I'd like to get into the objectives and overview for the video. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain 4 reasons for creating a lesson plan, and you will be able to identify why lesson planning is important, and you'll be able to describe the 6 elements of the BOPPS model, explaining what each one means and why each one is important. You will also have the opportunity to study a completed template to see how the elements are applied. You'll need to be able to apply the 6 elements of the BOPPS model for your first assignment, which is due in the second class. So what is the importance of lesson planning? Number 1 is motivation. Students will be motivated by knowing what to anticipate in the class. Number 2 is goal setting. Students will know what is expected of them in the class and therefore will be able to set goals for the end of the class. Number 3 is organization. Now this helps both the students and the instructor. The students will know how to organize their notes, and the instructor will know how to organize their lesson. Next is time management. The instructor can map out their lesson carefully, knowing how much time to dedicate to each section of their lesson. And finally is assessment. Having established objectives and the post-assessment, the instructor will know if the objectives have been met. Now, BOPPS is one of many lesson templates, but we have selected this one for this course as one to follow. It has 6 elements. The B stands for bridge in, the O stands for objective, the P stands for the pre-test, the second P stands for participatory learning, the third P stands for post-test, and the S stands for summary. So let's talk about the B for bridge-in. The purpose of the bridge-in is to capture your students' attention, and you can accomplish this in a variety of ways. Some people like to recall the major points or objectives of the last lesson. This triggers your students' memories, and it gives them an opportunity to build their new knowledge from this lesson on what they learned in the last lesson. You can tell a short anecdote either about yourself or a story that you've heard that's related to the topic that you're going to discuss for the day. Some people like to show a YouTube video or display a comic that is somehow related to the topic that you're going to talk about. Or you can ask a provocative question or pose a problem that you can solve by the end or answer by the end of the class. O is for objective. This is very important. You should state and display either on a PowerPoint slide or on an overhead projection the lesson's objective or objectives, which will prepare the students for the lesson and which alerts them to the major concepts for which they will be responsible to learn. The clear objectives you establish will also help you measure whether you've met your teaching goals and will help determine your assessment tools and strategies. The accompanying video lesson on objectives is essential, and I recommend that you watch this video as soon as you are able and before you come to class. We will be doing an activity that has to do with objectives, and so it'll be very important that you understand how to draft an objective. The first P is for pre-assessment. We want to pre-assess our students' prior knowledge to determine at what level of learning the lesson needs to begin. We may discover that our students know quite a bit about the topic that we're going to teach about, and that we need to start our lesson at a more advanced place. On the other hand, we may discover that our students know less than we expect, and we may have to give them some prior learning before we launch into our lesson. So how can we prepare our how can we pre-assess our students' knowledge? We can do something as simple as ask questions and ask for a show of hands. Excuse me. We can administer a short quiz. We can use clickers to assess knowledge and display the results on a screen. Or we can have students submit a written response to a question, such as a 3-minute essay. The second P is for participatory learning. During the body of the lesson, you may engage in lecturing, but you should also draw the students into some participatory learning. This means that the students are actively involved in the learning. Some examples might be using think, pair, shares, group work, inquiry-based or problem-based learning, class discussions, or using clickers. The third P is for post-assessment. When we've completed our lesson, we want to determine whether or not our objectives have been met, and this benefits both the instructor and the students. The instructor will know what needs clarification, and the students will know what they need to ask for further help on, either from their teacher or from other students, or by seeking clarification in their textbook. And they will know what they need to focus on when they study for assignments and for exams. Finally, the S is for the summary. The lesson should be summarized, bringing closure to the lesson. This should include restating the objectives. It should also include some way to thank the students for and finding positive things to say about their contributions to the work that they put into the class for the day. You may also want to alert them to the objectives, the activities, and the assignments for the next class. This will prepare them for getting ready for the next time you get together. In the summary, it's very important that no new content be introduced. So let's put it all together. I want you to think about what all of the letters stand for. You'll need a pen and paper to jot down your response, or I'll give you a minute to think about the answer in your head. So, what does the B stand for? What does the O stand for? What about the first P? The second P? The third P? And the S. Now, accompanying this video is a file that contains an example of a completed BOPPS lesson plan. We'll be looking at this in class, but be sure to read it over before you come to class next week. In conclusion, creating a lesson plan, regardless of the template you follow, is very sound pedagogical practice. The BOPPS model has 6 elements: the bridge-in, the objective, the pre-assessment, the participatory learning, the post-assessment, and the summary, and each of these serves a very valuable purpose. If you have any questions, please contact me at my email address, which is Tereigh Ewert-Bauer at usask.ca. Of course, you'll have the opportunity to work with these concepts in class when we first meet, and you'll have the opportunity to ask me questions after class that day. Thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you.